Hello and welcome to AI Product Mantra. Today we have Bobby Nobakht from Windsurf, now part of Cognition, who will be speaking about his journey of joining the Windsurf and life in the AI space and working on a tool something like Windsurf and how it has been his whole experience in the GTM. So thanks a lot, Bobby, for doing this and sharing your experience and knowledge with all of us.
Thanks, Akash. Yeah, really excited to be here to, share a little bit about my journey and how I ended up where I'm at now, and all of a sudden in the middle of the pretty crazy AI world, especially coding and AI. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. So, Bobby, if you could start telling us, how was your journey before you end up at Windsurf, and what were the various steps and what are weird roles that you played before you reached at as a GTM in Windsurf?
Yeah, definitely. So it's funny. I started out my career. I have a finance background. I studied finance in college. I thought I wanted to be a banker. And then I had different family relatives who were in more of the customer facing consulting, technology consulting. And this was back in 2016. So um, I decided to go more on the consulting route. So fast forward, I spent, I guess maybe you could say 6 years kind of in consulting, working at Oracle, PricewaterhouseCoopers, doing a lot of um, digital transformation, healthcare organizations who were trying to modernize their business practices around technology and applications. And the more and more I kept doing that, I had some tastes of working more on the sales side, and go to market is the new term in 2025 for sales, pre-sales, evaluations, like basically helping organizations decide what path they want to move forward with depending on the technology or problem that they're trying to solve. So I started to get a taste of that at my previous company, Smartsheet, and I did some couple different stints of kind of pre-sales, doing some demonstrations of the product, and I started to say, "Oh, I get really excited about this. This is actually a lot of fun." Seeing a customer or a prospective customer kind of see something come to life and go, "Oh, wow, like this can actually help us in our day-to-day, and this is going to solve a problem for us." So fast forward to now, or kind of earlier this year, as many people we're probably figuring out, like, okay, what's the wave that I need to jump on? Like AI. Like AI was something that I was really set on figuring out how I could get myself involved. And through a couple different ways, I found myself getting connected with the team at Windsurf. This is back in January of this year, and then went through the interview process, and it was a really good fit. And I previously, so with Smartsheet, PwC, and Oracle, all pretty big companies, especially PwC and Oracle, like hundreds of thousands of employees across the globe. And then Smartsheet was a little bit on the sort of mid market size, maybe 3,000 employees. I really had this lust to work for a startup, work for a smaller organization, and see if I could add a lot of value. And so it all kind of worked out there. And then now here we are, and again, middle of the AI craziness of 2025, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, got it. So, Bobby, for the audience, if somebody is new to Windsurf, how would you explain what Windsurf does in simple terms?
In simple terms, windsurf, I would explain. This is a good question. In simple terms, what I would say to a 7-year-old or something like that is like, hey, you see these applications on your phone, or you're on the computer, you're surfing the web, like everything is done by code, right? And everything is developed by code underneath. And Windsurf is a development platform that allows you to write code in an extremely efficient, fast manner. Um, Again, there's going to be different types of personas who would benefit from using a tool like Windsurf. Notoriously, these tools are for engineers, developers who are building these applications we all use on a day-to-day basis, upgrading them to be more modern. But the beauty of a tool like Windsurf, and I think the last year or so of all these vibe coding tools that have come out, um, is allowing people like me who don't have quite an engineering background, but have enough technical knowledge or interest in building tools and products to just start having a conversation with the way with an AI to start building a product or editing an existing product that's already out there and you've been working on it. So the way I used to explain to people when I first started, when people were asking me like, "What is it?" It's like, "Oh, well, think ChatGPT, but for coding." It's much more sophisticated than that, and it's changed a lot in the last 7, 8 months. But I'd say at a high, simple level, we'll go with that.
Got it. So if you could also tell us, when you speak to the customers who use Windsurf, what is that one aha
Mhm.
moment that you have seen that customers see when they start using Windsurf?
Yeah, early on, it was typically when we're talking to customers, at least my experience thus far is because the space is so new. A tool like Windsurf was very novel at the time when it came out. There was nothing like it, right? Before, to give you a kind of a vision of the journey of AI and coding tools, things started about what 2023 with GitHub Copilot, and there was this wave of autocomplete and kind of simple chat experiences within these development environments to make coding a little bit more efficient, but not a true like agentic experience. And so when Windsurf came out, it was even when I first saw it, I said, wait, you can just communicate in natural language, speak to this platform, and it will understand enough of the context that you're trying to execute on to start to build something. Like that was really powerful. And so the main aha moments with customers, I think, is because we're talking about sometimes large enterprises, they're constantly working with existing code, existing products, and they're not always looking to build something from scratch. Sure, that's a part of it, but when you see success against large enterprise code bases where Windsurf can understand what a file or project that's been around for 20 years is doing to then apply the adjustments or changes that the user is asking it to do is was always the big aha moment. It's like, oh wow, it really does understand what, because that's the big test all of these companies have is like, can it understand our information? Like, we have so much, proprietary knowledge and contextual language that we need to make sure, is relevant for these AI tools to do what they want to avoid hallucination, right? So that's this big scare with AI is like, how do we know the code is going to be quality? And so when we show them that we can, the very deep understanding of somebody's code and understanding while abiding by security requirements, of course, is usually the aha moment. People don't believe it's possible.
So I also have something to share. Because I've started using Windsurf, there were two incidences where I thought probably it's a moment where we have to, adopt it. One was you choose a problem of your daily life and you try to solve it. So I would probably start
Hmm.
coding in the morning and it's pure vibe coding, and then you keep solving the bugs which keeps coming because the code was written completely in your Python. And by the end of the day, you have
Hmm.
a small working chunk of code which does a part of your solution, which earlier would have taken
Yep.
many months and explaining the developer, explaining, answering his questions. But now you can do it faster, which is one change. The other power that comes from Windsurf is you can understand the code which has been already written. Instead of going to a junior developer asking him about what the code says, now you don't have to go. You already have your own personal software engineer, a junior software engineer who can answer your question. So those are some shifts which I have seen after using it.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I was gonna ask you like what the aha moment was for you, and you're so right. I think one of the first conversations I had was, this organization was trying to speed up their release cycles. They are, software organization, and fintech, and they were trying to figure out how to speed up their annual monthly releases. Can we do bi-weekly, things like that? And they, during a proof of concept, were able to figure out that with Windsurf, they were able to take a typical project that, needed maybe a full team, project manager, a developer, scrum master, right, QA, to get to a prototype. It would typically take 6 weeks, 8 weeks. They did it within 4 days with Windsurf. So that was another really cool story. So yeah, it's awesome to hear. Every other day, I feel like people are learning new things with these tools.
Yeah. I also have a question around, there are other AI coding tools which exist. Some of them are good at just the UI part of it. You can start coding from
Mhm.
scratch. And there are some like Cursor or Windsurf and the Cloud Code where you can start coding a new project or an existing project can be imported. So how does Windsurf position itself as, different from other AI products which helps in developing?
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, all these, so here's the thing. The challenge with the space is it is very competitive, and one day Windsurf comes out with a feature, 2 days later, all the competitors come out with it, and vice versa. That's literally what it's been like the last 6, 7, 8 months. It's almost every other week, or there's a new player, and then maybe the model providers decide that they want to start to get into the space, like Claude Code. Claude Code came out of inception really fast. I'm sure that team was working on it for a long time, maybe in the behind the scenes, but there's a lot of rumors that it literally just came up from a Twitter thread and then they took it and ran with it. And now here it is, and people love it. And so all these tools are fantastic. And there's starting to be a narrow margin of technical differentiators. Where, because again, there's a lot of smart individuals in this space. It's the hottest space, the most relevant space from an ROI value driven perspective for organizations. I think the first one that we've been seeing really tangible value is in coding. So, when people ask me like, how are you better than this company or how are you better than that company? I think it's just pace of innovation, right? Constantly seeking to evolve. We have really good people, within our organization. We like to lean in, right? So when you're working with us from a go-to-market perspective, we try to provide a extremely white glove experience. And we want to make sure everybody's getting the most out of these tools. We're not just handing you a tool and saying, see you next year, sort of thing. If you want to engage with us and you're an organization that's trying to do this the right way and think about best practices, we have a full dedicated team to allow for that. But then I do think if I were to say it, like where I think I like kind of what we're doing a little bit more is we're trying to create more of a full end-to-end SDLC type of experience within not just Windsurf, but just in general with the products that we have here at Cognition. And so, not just thinking about the one-to-one experience, thinking about how we can create a more asynchronous background experience with a product like Devin. I know we haven't talked as much about it as well, but I'm very excited about kind of having the best of both worlds now. So, um, and you're already starting to see the sort of first inclinations of the Cognition team and Devin in Windsurf with our most recent Wave release. The Waves are, for those of you who don't know, Waves is how at Windsurf we reference product releases. And so Wave 12, we dropped Deep Wiki, which is a native feature of Devin that is like almost instant documentation of right now in Windsurf, it's of classes and certain specific aspects of code, not necessarily an entire repository, but creating a quick and easy way to signify documentation, and then hopefully that becomes more shareable, more just continue to provide deep contextual awareness. I think that's like our main mission.
So if you could also speak about, from the GTM perspective, how do you collaborate with the product guys within Windsurf, and how do you give back the customer insights that you get, and how does it get incorporated?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a full team of go-to-market leads like myself. We also have forward-leaning deployed engineering. So meaning we have engineers who are customer facing, and are typically have software engineer or computer science backgrounds, but they partner with us on all these initiatives. Because as as much as I like to think I'm not your average sales guy, there's still some things that you need deep technical expertise and experience on, and so we have a fantastic team of deployed engineers who they are, we work together on our customer initiatives, and then there's this constant feedback loop of what's working, what's not, and we can kind of communicate back internally. Um, and then a lot of times things are being incorporated pretty quickly just because we are a smaller team. Um, Small, I mean 200-ish employees. We're still operating at a pretty breakneck pace. We're communicating a lot on all facets, right? And so there's a constant feedback loop. But I think, just having our forward deployed engineering team, they're the ones who work pretty closely with our product team on a regular basis. So just the full team effort and having that feedback loop back to them is how that operates.
Got it. So if you could also speak about, let's say you get a lot of feedback from your customers and the users you're speaking to, though, how do you decide which one of them is a noise and which is a valid feedback to be integrated into a product? How does that decision making happens?
Yeah, well, I wish I had all the decision making power on what feedback may get back into the product. But the way I personally am interacting is like, okay, is it a problem that you're trying to solve that is realistic for many other people? Like, is this a normal thing that like if I can hear something out from a customer, collaborate with my deployed engineering team to say like, is this something you're hearing with from other users as well? Is this what we're hearing from other teams? Like just like having constant collaboration, like I think what we take seriously is like things that come up that are consistent across the board. I think we take every piece of feedback into consideration, no doubt. I mean, I think famously one of our engineers had a Twitter thread about, just hey, like what would you like to see in Wave 13? And there was a million amounts of responses and thoughts and questions. So I think the team's very open to hearing, what the world is doing because there's two aspects to this AI IDE space. There's like the enterprises, and then there's individuals who are just, doing their thing on a day-to-day basis and love using these tools for personal reasons. So we have to both manage the like kind of enterprise side of the house and keeping that security enterprise standards top of the line while also thinking fast and innovative for individuals who are using it. So I think it's just really understanding personas and what those people are trying to accomplish and go from there.
Got it. So, Bobby, if you could also show us, how does a typical workflow looks like if let's say I'm from a product. So how would I use Windsurf?
Sure, yeah. Want me to share my
Yeah.
screen and
Yes.
just start ripping it? Let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, so let me share here. And okay, so here is Windsurf. And it seems pretty straightforward, blank space, but the reason I'm showing it this way is you, the kind of UI that we've developed is like it's kind of giving you two paths. Like, okay, do you want to open up an existing folder, an existing project that you're working on, or generate a new project from scratch? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say, let's generate a new project from scratch. And the cool thing that most recent updates have done is like giving a little bit of just inspiration. Like just, hey, okay, what like let's think outside the box. Build Splitwise. Really? Okay, I don't know if anyone knows what Splitwise is, but it's an application that helps you split payments with people. You're going on a trip. So just we're trying to think of funny ways of how to kind of inspire people to be creative, right? So for example, one time I created a Tron video game. And so maybe we try to recreate that, but genuinely, you start from scratch. So we're going to select a specific folder to build my project in. So we're going to create my Cascade projects. And then now we're going to just start going. Akash, how about you give me an idea? Give me one thing that came to your head. Like, what's just something random, and we can just start building off of that.
Probably something simple like build a website.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
let's start to build a website. So we start with there, and then we open up Cascade, and there it is. It's warming up. There it is. Boom. And so now, when you were using, the cool thing with Windsurf is there's what we call model optionality. So you can flip between different models, all the model providers, but we're sticking with the Claude model today. So the interesting thing with Windsurf is it wants to build a plan, right? So we asked it to build a website, very limited context, very limited information. So but now it's asking some feedback loop, right? The human in the loop, like how do we continue to do this? Like what is the main purpose?
Hmm.
Okay, so now it's saying what's the main purpose, specific features, any design preferences, technologies or frameworks. Let's go with that. I'm going to just say I want to build a website that is has a nice UI and the main objective is to create a budget calculator, something like that, right? Budget calculator. Let's just go with that. I think everybody could use a good budget calculator. There's probably a million out there, but let's see what it can start to do. And obviously, if we did this end to end, it's going to take us maybe a couple hours.
Hmm.
But the cool thing with Windsurf is it's always going to try to create a plan before it does anything. Like the evolution of these AI IDEs is like maybe in the past it used to just go off on a whim and start to
Hmm.
build, right? But the way we've developed the product now is like let's create a set of tasks that based on contextual knowledge, you working with the individual, what the LLMs have been seeing out there as well, like what's actually going to be the right steps to do this. So
Got it.
as you can
I
see, it's starting to do it.
I just have one question. So earlier I
Yeah.
thought when I was using Windsurf, this was not by default. So you would have to ask them, plan first and then you do it. But I think with the reasoning
You're right.
models becoming more superior is when we see these features becoming quite dominant.
That's a great question. So this was actually an addition as a result of Wave 12. So you're right. Windsurf used to have, even before we had something called planning mode, you had to, yes, you're right. Like best practice was please create a plan markdown file before we go and execute. Now it's automatic. Now we've implemented it into the product, which is what this checklist is, basically this to-do list. So now it's asking me about different things to do and so on. But you're right. Like you're also correct about as these models get more powerful and their reasoning becomes more trustable, that gives us the confidence to put in, say, hey, we want to do planning mode and use our proprietary technology to mesh well. So I'm just going to hit accept. And don't, any engineer watching this, please don't get mad at me. I didn't read every line of code. I know it's not best practice, but just for the sort of you know thing here today, we're just going to run through it fast. So it's taking its time. It's going to do its thing.
Hmm.
So what we could do is come back to it, keep the conversation going, and
Got it.
see how Windsurf comes up with a very basic website
Yeah. Uh,
within our hour.
yeah. Also, I have a question around it. So if there is any
Yeah,
feature within Windsurf, which is like a very critical feature or something which is very amazing, but people usually miss, if you could show that. Meanwhile,
amazing, but people usually miss. That's a
yeah.
good question. Okay, so. Let's see here. What's a good one that I can so I think it's not gonna pop. Actually no, I'll show you one that will pop, but like there's a lot of customizations that are at your disposal. And certainly like you can implement rules, you can implement workflows to kind of have a more consistent playbook of workflows that you're going to do. So I always suggest people to play around with customizations and memories. Memories are auto-generated, so that's fine, and it's based on each conversation. But actually, one that I think people sleep on a little bit is you can actually have multiple cascade conversations going at a time. So, and actually, it kind of built the initial website here. We could take a look at
Hmm.
it. It's probably going to be pretty bare bones.
Yeah.
But the cool thing with Windsurf is actually, let's do this. I'll kick off a little bit more here. Let's just open up this local host on a different browser and I'll come back to it. But maybe I'll say like, um, you know, add Bobby's website to the top of the page, right? I'll just ask it to do that. And then what I'll do is open up another conversation and basically you can work through a different problem as you're working through the previous problem. You can even open up a whole new workspace of Windsurf as well. So I can say new window, and now it's like a blank window of Windsurf. We can open up a new project. So you can kind of have multiple actions going on at a certain time. And I think seasoned people know that, but it's something that I always like to make sure people are aware of.
Got it. There's one feature which I was exploring was the one which you see there. It's for the MCP where you can see some customized MCPs already available. Where I was just checking what are
Yeah,
these. So I was just trying my hand on the Playwright feature, which was there. How do I call and control a website directly from Windsurf and do the thing?
nice.
Yeah, I think it's there right there, Playwright. So it's also built by Microsoft. So
Playwright.
yeah,
Where is
can
Playwright?
you
I'm
go up?
blanking.
Yeah,
I'm.
can you
Yep,
go up?
yep, yep. Let's scroll up. Let's scroll up. Right here. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've been using Playwright. Yeah, absolutely.
So I see a lot of customization already being done. I think probably because all of these companies have already built their MCP servers and it gives you pre-built configuration. So you don't have to really work a lot harder if you're a non-coder. You just have to click and customize it and then use the tools which are there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, is exactly right. All these MCPs are developed by those providers, but then we've made it very easy to, for these at least, you can always set up a custom MCP, right, depending on what that is. But yeah.
got it. Can we see the website? I think I've already opened it.
Yeah, let's see what it's looking like. Let me pull it over into this screen. All right, it's actually not bad.
Mm,
I mean, we got to start to see it's functional and everything. Total income, you can kind of update things, add income. I think the fascinating thing, Akash, is I didn't tell it to do any of this. It literally just had an idea of what it wanted to do. Um, and I'll be honest, this is a step function increase from even like March of this year in terms
mm,
of the initial prototype that is being built. So this is, I think it just shows that from a product perspective, or if you're just trying to quickly prototype something, like you can do that pretty fast. Yeah, it's going to be maybe a little buggy, maybe it's going to be a little, um, you know, got to clean up and add test coverage, make sure, if you pass this off to an engineer, they're going to rip through the code and make sure it's safe and secure. But if you're just trying to quickly spin something up and see how does it look, like this is what we're talking about.
got it. If you could also, show us something about the Devon which you spoke about and how does that come in now that Windsurf is part of Cognition? How does both work together and how are you looking at things will work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with Devin, yeah, I mean, I know we're pivoting a little bit here, but like, I'll actually just go ahead and let's go into it. Um, so Devin is it's a completely different paradigm than, the basically the IDEs of the world, right? It's a different surface area. It's a new way of working. It's not a one-to-one keyboard. It's a it's a way for in a nutshell, Devin is a junior AI software engineer that has a deep expert level understanding of your code base. So typical junior engineer does not maybe have that initial under you got to go through onboarding, you have to learn the new repository and so on. And so the kind of the benefit of Devin is to be able to quickly provide the right relevant context, and then Devin may not be the best for maybe greenfield development or, hey, like what we just did, prototyping with
Mhm.
Windsurf, right? Kind of creating that website. We always, I think we all would agree that using an IDE like Windsurf is the best way to kind of get something spun up fast. But then organizations have a large amount of sort of backlog tasks and engineering toil, things that they need to work through. And there's a massive library or a repository across the entire organization that needs to be upgraded from Java 8 to Java 21. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources, and you always want to put your team and engineers on the most exciting work, right? To build new products. So the kind of value add of Devin is to let's let Devin do the not fun stuff. Like let's rip through the stuff that has to happen and is absolutely critical, but maybe is not where typically organizations are going to invest all of their engineering team member resources, right? So
Hmm.
um but it is a very different experience. Like it's not within an ID, but really what I could do is in Windsurf. Let me just scroll over to Windsurf. I could just show. I'm actually going to start the new window here, and I'm going to open up this. This is just like an open source repository that I forked, Cypress Real World app. Like I have it open in Windsurf, and then I also am going to have it available to work with in Devin. So Devin, you basically can load up your different repositories so you can work across multiple repositories. But like if I were to just work specifically with this right here, um, you can start to see how within Windsurf and Devin you can kind of be operating under the same repos, same circumstances, and so there's going to be different use cases that we would just recommend you to maybe work through within Windsurf versus deploying in Devin. But I think the cool thing with Devin is I'm going to go to this Deep Wiki feature. And so Deep Wiki is basically our way of creating a extremely deep contextual knowledge for Devin to then use to go execute on. So as soon as you index this repository, it creates this deep wiki, right? So now we've got a full-blown um, data dump and infrastructure information, framework diagrams, architecture, end-to-end testing, like how it's being done, like across, right? I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but that's the kind of power of Devin is you give it access to a particular repository, and then it creates this deep wiki, and then that's the basis of the deep code base understanding to allow for to you to feel comfortable saying, okay, Devin, we need you to go and upgrade this particular project to the latest and greatest, right? Any questions so far?
Now,
I'm
just
gonna
one
I'm gonna kick
question.
off a session, but go ahead.
Yeah, so just one question is, how some of your users are using both Devin and Windsurf together, or do they go for one? How does that work?
Yeah, so I think the way we typically think about that is like absolutely both are going to be happening. Like there's not going to be a world where IDEs are non-existent and Devin only is being used. So, in terms of how we like our perspective is like you could be managing a very complex one-to-one task within a tool like Windsurf where you're constantly going to go back and forth with Cascade and the AI to solve a problem, prototype, see what it looks like, kind of do make sure that you're extremely involved. And then with Devin, it's all the asynchronous tasks. The point of Devin is not to like with Windsurf, you're staring in Windsurf, you're going to be going back and forth, you're going to be making comments, you're going to be accepting adjustments, you're going to be managing diffs. With Devin, you basically give it a problem and then you can go to lunch and you can come back and see what's going on. So you have to really be precise on the use cases that you're providing a tool like Devin, because that's the way to get the best results. So what I'll do here is let's actually go ahead and ask Devin. Let's say I'll ask, say, how is the code test coverage looking? Right, we'll just ask it to scan this particular code base, see what type of, and I'm doing it ask Devin right now. So there's
Mm.
three main functionalities within Devin. There's Deep Wiki, which is what I showed you earlier. There's Ask Devin, which is what I'm doing now, where you're not actually asking Devin to go and execute a particular task. It's essentially researching that particular repository that you identified and answering your question. And then maybe it can turn into a, next step after. Trying to think about what's the next step. Like, do we actually need to address anything here or go forward? Everything looks fine. So this is one unique aspect that you may be using for Devon. But again, something that you probably could do in Windsurf too, right? Like this
Mm.
isn't like there's not a one size. It's like a hey, you only do this here, you only do this there. With Devon, it's about scale. It's about trying to create repetitive work across multiple places that ultimately you just don't have the manpower or the resources to do that, right? Um, so that's really the power here is because I think there's going to be a lot of questions about what do you do here, what do you do there, and it's all about like yes, you can do a lot of things here and you can do a lot of things there, but if you're trying to scale and drive a lot of value across your organization on very specific use cases that kind of get left behind, Devin is gonna, do that extremely well.
Got it.
Um, so so yeah, and then the other thing I'll add too is again, it's not meant to be stared at. We are staring at it doing its thing, but the idea is okay, let's go and maybe start another session and you can see when something's active and running with the blue dot here. Maybe I'll go get a coffee, which reminds me I should probably get a coffee soon.
Got it. While this runs in, I have a couple of more questions for you, so probably you can stop sharing and then we can discuss those.
Yeah,
If you could,
sure.
from your experience, tell us, like, how does the GTM for an AI product looks like compared to a SaaS product that we do? And, what are the differences and challenges that you get?
Yeah, great question. Wow, yeah, I love that question. Well, I think in my experience now with one thing with AI is it's basically the number one initiative on every organization's sort of board of directors charter, right? Like right now, it's if you're trying to keep up with the competition, if you're trying to stay ahead and innovate, like basically every company, AI is on the radar. So I think what that means from a go-to-market perspective is it's a plus, and it can be a difficult thing as well. But from a plus perspective, it's like eyes are on it. Everybody knows that we they want to take advantage of these tools. They know that they need to solve for efficiencies within their organization. So there's no lack of sort of executive buy-in or awareness of the initiatives that we're trying to drive. But it also is extremely competitive because of how fast the space is moving, because of how many different players there are. You have the large organizations who have been around forever who are bringing in their AI solutions. And then you have the more recent startup organizations who are coming out with kind of the newer hot tools. So there's a lot to keep up with. And so I think the difference is like it's even more so than ever, the folks who are in go-to-market need to be very sort of value driven and perspective driven and have a point of view and also add value themselves too. Like long, I think the days of, hey, here's this software, buy it off the shelf and go have fun is kind of gone, right? So with AI, it's all about like the right tools, but then also how do you adopt them the right way? How do you continue to measure productivity? Like these are the challenges are it's not as binary as a CRM system that, yep, we know we have to have it. It's very straightforward. We're gonna, we have a sales pipeline. We need to track that stuff. Like you're just going to buy those things, right? Or now with Windsurf, people are building internal apps all the time, or any of the other, AI IDEs, vibe coding and business apps. But I think more than ever, it's coming down to being able to show that you're a trusted advisor and partner and someone who's willing to be in the boat with the organization because things are moving so fast, whether it's features or use cases or asynchronous things now. It's like making sure people are understanding what's going on and keeping it simple, while also maintaining enterprise security standards. So I think just the if I sum it all up, I know that was a lot there. It's such a fast moving space that we need to keep things simple, but also drive extreme value and keep up with the competition all at the same time. Um, so that's how I'd sum it up.
Got it. And since you speak to a lot of customers, you would have seen, there is a lot of AI hype, or also a very different way of looking at the AI adoption altogether. So how do you bridge that gap? That how do you increase or measure the AI adoption within these companies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just gonna really come down to what that particular company or customer is important to them, right? Whatever they deem is critical from a KPI or measurement perspective. Like maybe for some companies, it's, hey, we just want everybody using it, right? We just need every single person using it. We purchased 500 seats. We just need to make sure all 500 are occupied, and then we can see who's who's using it every day, who's using it every other day, or like and then try to find out why maybe there's a gap. But then some people, they're trying to really get in the weeds and try to figure out, okay, did we actually execute more story points as a result of bringing in an AI tool from a product development and engineering standpoint? Did we increase the number of pull requests that we're generating? Are we decreasing the time from pull request creation to execution and commit to production? So it's really all about like talking to folks and try to understand like what the problems that they're having today, and then make sure that we have a confident way to solve it. Um, so it's in the AI productivity measurement is like the big challenge right now, and the big goal of everybody is to figure out the best way to do it. Right now, it's all about being extremely customized to a particular organization.
Got it. And let's say, how do you look at all these Copilot tools and productivity tools that we have around AI? How will they evolve in the next 2 to 3 years?
Love that question. I mean, I think everything's going more like I've become a very heavy ChatGPT user. I used to use, when it came out, tried it, I used it here and there, free version. But the moment I got into this space, I knew that that wasn't going to cut it, and I needed to really go all in on AI across my personal workflow. So, whether that's meeting notes, transcripts, being able to turn that stuff into actionable next steps and clear, readable results, which is happening asynchronously, like genuinely. And then now with ChatGPT agent mode, and now I think the direction we're heading, at least the goal of organizations right now, is to create a world where you as an individual kind of become the architect of your own processes, meaning you can take advantage of a tool to do things yourself, get in the boat, but then also offload a lot of work. Like while that's occurring in the kind of engineering and development space right now, I think that's genuinely how it's going to go for us as well, who maybe aren't, professional developers. But you're working in ChatGPT, you're doing research on something that you find very interesting, or you're trying to plan a trip to Hawaii or whatever it is. And you can already start to do this with a ChatGPT agent mode. Have it go book your travel for you, have it go do this for you. Have book a reservation or something. I think it's just going to be about like creating very efficient architects personas across different types of people. And I think it's great. I think it's a lot of fun. It's People are very scared about AI, in terms of, oh, we're not going to be able to critically think anymore. But I disagree. I think as long as we're still in this space where the human is, in the loop, like, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon. Like, you still need to critically think in terms of how you're communicating. It's just like you're talking to another person, and you want to eloquently request what it is that you're looking to do. So you can never you don't want to be sloppy or lazy with how you're communicating with AI. The more focused you are, the more you're going to get out of it, and the more you can do.
Got it. I was looking at, some of the old podcasts because I've been following Windsurf for a very long time. One of the things that I've heard from the founders were, Windsurf had a very good GTM team, which was kind of played an important role in its adoption across the industry. So, what is that
Mhm.
specialty that, GTM team has at Windsurf?
Wow, I love that question, and I'm honored to be able to be a part of that team. And it's so, I'd say special quality that folks have on our team is like deep curiosity, and interest and obsession with this space. I'd say everyone is very excited and motivated and fired up about kind of the things we're working on. Um, I think there's over the years, right? I've worked with a couple different softwares. I've worked with HR software. I've worked with project management software. And now here I am working with, you know, the most cutting edge technology out there. So for people to be successful in this space, you just need to be extremely interested in like this technology and everything that's going on. And I think everyone on our team is. And also have a deep curiosity of the challenges that organizations are having on a day-to-day basis and really try to figure out what problem it is that we're solving. I think it's fairly clear cut in the engineering world now. It's in development, like there's certain levers. It's like, okay, how do we move faster? How do we be more efficient, right? Those are like the main value drivers. And then companies want to figure out how they can increase their bottom line. So for us, we preach a lot of value consultative go-to-market strategies so that, we're not just coming in and saying, all right, here's a product and, you're going to buy and go, adios, right? So no, it's all about like really trying to deeply understand the problem. And that just comes from deep curiosity and excitement about the space.
Got it. Just one more question, if you let's say if the windsurf gets successful very widely, how will the world looks in next 5 years?
Wow. Well, this is not a novel take. I think this is, a lot of different because I also listen to a lot of podcasts and I certainly formulate my own opinions, but like I heard this on one and I thought it was very astute and I couldn't agree more. Like I don't think our world is lacking technology or software to be consumed. Like there's still a lot of old tools out there. There's still a lot of legacy software. There's a lot of software to be built. And so if, tools like Windsurf, Devon, even our competition, like I think there's enough room to go. I think there doesn't need to be just one player to that really emerges here. Maybe there will be, but I think there's so much to do and to execute on that many of us can be successful from a long-term perspective. But the world will look, I think it'll just be more efficient. I think the world will be moving at a higher clip. I think the world will be operating in a way that allows you to build things on a whim. There will be more people, probably we'll see an uptick in millionaires. We'll probably see an uptick in startups, which, depending on how you look at it, to me, that's amazing. I think competition fuels everything in an economy like in the US is a capitalist economy. It's all about competition. It's all about growth. It's all about new innovations. So I just think these tools are only going to rapidly expand that and allow legacy companies to be more innovative and be more thoughtful and be able to maybe do the things that they couldn't before because they were strapped from a annual perspective of shareholders and public companies. They have to meet their quarterly results, which is fantastic. But I think with the advent of AI, you can do that and maintain a status quo and also innovate. So I think it's just going to take people to really lean in. It's going to take time, but we're already seeing a lot of that now.
Got it. That's nice. So my final question to you would be, personally, what are some of the AI tools that you really love? Any top three of your recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, no surprise here, but big ChatGPT fan. Obviously, I already talked about it. I'm a huge, I think the one that a lot of people know about it in the kind of corporate world, but not as many people know about it kind of on a day-to-day, but it's a tool called Granola. Have you heard of Granola, Akash?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so granola has become like my best friend um in terms of just meeting notes, right? Having a clear way of structuring, whether it's a project you're working on or a meeting you're having and just like I think the other part about AI is like yes, maybe my memory is not being as good because now I know I can go to these different places to remember like, bring things back to life, but that also helped as you age, memory is going to degrade, right? So we need ways to support that. But granola and ChatGPT are probably my two favorite, kind of going back and forth between them on a basically daily basis.
Got it. So thanks a lot, Bobby, for your time and sharing your experience at Windsurf and sharing the vision of Windsurf and how things will change with Devin and Windsurf together. So I hope a lot of people will get insight into the life and the culture and what advancements are going to happen within Windsurf. So thanks a lot for your time here.
Yeah, thank you, Akash. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you giving me a space to share and hearing from maybe not a super famous person, but maybe this turns into something for me, right? But no, I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. You had some really great questions. Hopefully you thought it was engaging.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Bobby. Bye bye.